What's happening, everybody? You guys remember this deck? It was good when we first put it together, but now it has become a real champion of the people. A deck for the paupers out there that didn't buy those expansions. And you want to know something? You don't need the goddamn expansions to kick some ass with this ShockSwitch premium list build that I'm going to be showing you today. Let's get in here and edit this deck so we can talk about the cards. All right, you guys. First off, let's look down at their stats. We always gotta look at the stats, right? And they're bullshit. 22 blue, 15 red. That's a pretty good facsimile. It skews more towards blue than red. Strength and control, synergy, they all say we're doing really well. Speed, that's definitely true, even though turn 3, we've got some stuff going on. 6 creatures, interesting because of the amount of removal in the world, but a lot of those creatures are very cheap, so our negates and thanes are going to go a long way to protecting them. Other spells, we've got 33, that's the whole goal of this deck, and we've got 21 lands. Let's talk about the lands real quickly. They have not changed from our old deck, 11 Island, 10 Mountain, and that is pretty much all we need to talk about there. So what cards did we lose? That's something that we always need to think of when we were looking at a 60 of this. We lost Vapor Snag, that's a real beater. And we also lost Think Twice. Those are kind of the big ones, the marquee names that we lost. Also, we're trying to generate value from those cards, so Talrand, the Sky Summoner, also was kind of a big hit to this deck's overall build strategy. What we're going to be doing here is the exact same thing we were doing with our old deck. If you want to go check out that video, it is on the channel. It's got a playlist. It's going to be the ShockSwitch playlist, so you are welcome to check that out. That's going to show you the premium-filled build of this. But we have added a lot of other threats and some different fun things that we can do because we've lost those things. The main goal of this deck, of course, is to stall our opponent until we get something out on the field that generates value, such as the Gutter Snipe, such as the Inferno Titan, or the Sphinx Bone Wand, and then we're just going to keep them locked down until we're able to deal the final points of damage. This is a weird deck. It's going to have you biting your nails quite a bit. You lower your life a lot in this one, and I'd almost say that you could take out like a Sphinx Bone Wand or something to pop you in the life gain artifact, which I actually don't have up, and now I gotta scroll all the way back through. Life is really hard, you guys. I don't even know if you know this, but it's friggin' rough. You could put in Elixir of Immortality, but just a 1 of Elixir of Immortality, I don't know. You're probably never going to see it when you actually need it, and a 3 of is so heavy-handed, and you don't really have the room here. We really need all the pieces we're going to have time for. Time Warp is good in this deck. It would have been good in the last deck, and if I had taken out the Charmbreaker Devils in the previous one, I would have put in Inferno Titan in Time Warp and called it a damn day, because that would have actually made the previous deck like 1,000 times better than it was. But for this one, let's talk about what we actually have in front of us. We've got 2 copies of Quicken. This is sometimes just going to be used for cycling. I know it's 1 mana, draw a card. Basically, in that mind, I can cycle this if I don't need it. Plus, it generates ability, because it's not an ability, it's actually casting the card, you know? So, that works out pretty well for us. That's what we want. It's going to generate value, just like we talked about with the Sphinx Bone Wands and things like that. Voyage's End is a 4 of in this deck, because we need to be able to bounce our opponent's creatures and sometimes our own to save them from removal. We need the full counter suite. We've got Negate, we've got Nullify, 4 of both of those. We've got 3 Dissolves. We need that Scry. The Scry on the Voyage's End is amazing. It's actually more useful, you know, what we talked about losing. We talked about losing the Void Snare, or the Vapor Snag, rather. I'm sorry about that. In Voyage's End, actually, Scry is way better than just them losing 1 life, in my opinion. I mean, you know, 1 life adds up, for sure, but that's something that they can work around. They can know about the Vapor Snag, know about the life loss, and kind of think about it. But us being able to know and just keep that information to ourselves, what's on the top of our pile, and switch it out if we need to, is really, really, really valuable in this deck. So the full removal suite, the only thing that we don't have in here is shit. Counterlash. We don't really have anything to use Counterlash with, so that stays home. We need card draw desperately, so we have all 4 copies of Inspiration because we lost the best card in the blue format, which is Think Twice, and we don't have that luxury anymore, so we need the inspirations in there. Time Warp, like I said, obviously is going to give you multiple turns with stuff like Goblin Rabble Master. It's going to give you multiple turns with Gutter Snipe, multiple turns with Inferno Titan. A really important part of this deck. Sometimes it's just draw a card for 5 mana, which sucks balls. That is not what you want to do with your life, but sometimes it has to be, and you can't help that. One of that, and that's kind of utility. No, it's not. That just fucking sucks. 5 mana draw 1 card is not. No one would ever play that. So Time Warp, not great. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do. 4 of Shocks, early game removal. Once again, going to work with the Gutter Snipe, going to work with our Sphinx Bone Wand, and do quite a bit of damage that way. Volcanic Geyser, this is creature removal if we absolutely need it, but 9 times out of 10 we're going to use that to blast our opponent's face, do some serious damage. 3 copies of that. 2 copies of the Goblin Rabblemaster, because that guy is rabble-rousing all week long. We've also got 2 copies of Anger of the Gods, so we can wipe the field. I know you're saying to yourself, Josh, what the fuck, Anger of the Gods? And I'm like, yeah, I know we got Gutter Snipe, but we got this. Every single creature we have can just, well, those are all of them. But every creature we have just dies to Anger of the Gods. But you guys, the problem is that our opponent could always have Anger of the Gods. We can negate that, do whatever we want. When we have Anger of the Gods, we're in complete control of when it's cast. Because guess what? We just won't cast it if it fucks us. Like, the fact that these 2 cards are in the deck, it's not like card captors, you know? It's not like the cards are gonna disagree and get in arguments and then a big old tree is gonna fuck up our house. That's not gonna happen. You guys, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. The cards are going to get along just fine as long as we know when to use them. So Rabblemaster, good to go. 2 copies of Anger of the Gods, good to go. Gutter Snipe all day, 3 copies. He needs to show up. If he's late, you can't fire him. That's the fucking shitty thing. Like, it might as well be called guttersnipe.deck, because this thing, he's there. He's always there. 3 copies of that guy, 1 copy of Inferno Titan because he's fucking good. 2 copies of Sphinx Bone Wand because that card is the juice. We all need to juice our wands. That's all I'm saying. You need to juice your Bone Wand every once in a while. Look at that sexy curve, you guys. Oh my goody goodness. 6 1-drops, 15 2-drops, 3 10-drops. Oh my god. 4 4-drops. What? The synergy just right there alone is amazing. 1 5-drop, 3 6 plus 6 plus drops. We actually don't have 3 6 drops. That's insane. We have 2 7s. But this deck's rock solid, surprisingly. It is pretty janky, but it's going to get you out of a lot of jams. You don't have board control in way of creatures unless you're lucky enough to get Rabblemaster out or something like that, but the Anger of the Gods is going to help you out there, and Inferno Titan is going to come down and wipe the field up. And then hopefully if you can get Sphinx Bone Wand out, you can control crowds if you absolutely need to, and then take the rest of the damage to the face to finish off your opponent. I usually don't breathe the entire time, so I'm glad that I got to take a little breath there. I hope you guys enjoyed this 60. ShockSwitch is actually one of my favorite decks now, and I think if I'm able to put the premiums back in it, I can make it even better, even more enjoyable. So we might be returning to ShockSwitch with a bit of an edit in the later on times. You know, after stuff comes out, expansion packs and stuff, which hopefully I'm keeping an eye on because I am filming ahead a little bit. But ShockSwitch will come out and have new cards, and we'll be able to make it even stronger, we hope. So we'll have to see what happens there. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'm going to have another 60 tomorrow, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But for right now, I want to thank you for checking out this episode and say that I will see you all next time.